Let's go ahead and get started. Bob, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Got another action-packed agenda for you. I've got two speakers on the public agenda on page one. On page two, number one is an EDX tax exemption extension, the second 5 years of the two 5-year terms. This was a 2016 IRB with a 57.5% tax abatement. They constructed a 25,000 square foot addition, and they have met their capital investment goal and exceeded their job and salary goals. So we're recommending the second 5 years of their tax exemption. Similar situation with Perfecta, the number two item. They had an EDX at 89%, 60,000 square foot addition. They built that addition, met the capital goal. They exceeded the jobs goal if you count the positions they currently have open. They're advertising for positions but haven't been able to get those fully filled. So you'll see that in council report that I think they come up one shy of positions that are filled, and then substantially above that if they get all the open positions filled. And that's just, as I understand it, and staff can talk more about it, I believe that's a reflection of the current market. This will be a recommendation for the second 5 years of their 5 and 5. Number three is a contract for third-party vetting for, this is to strengthen our vetting process for developers that are requesting certain incentive tools from the city, including TIF, CID, and facade loans. In your economic development guidelines, you have requirements for vetting. We've done most of that with our own staff. This would take us to another level in terms of bringing in an outside firm. We reviewed proposals from two companies and are recommending actually an extension of the contract we have with TrueView to do this vetting. They also are doing HR background checks for us and have done a good job in that regard. And we're also asking you to amend the economic development guidelines to reflect that we'll be using external vetting, and then the charges for that vetting will be paid by the applicant. And so that'll be in the guidelines as well that we're asking you to approve. Number four is a approval of a fire department radio replacement project, $2.3 million. And that's necessary to maintain the effectiveness of our radio system. On page three, number five, this is tentative right now. The SEIU members are voting on their contract, and the vote won't be completed until just prior to the council's review of this on Tuesday. But what we've done is we've given you the terms that are being voted on, and we'd like to get it. I'll pull the item if for some reason the members don't approve it. But if you look, pardon me?
When are they voting?
Well, I think they're voting over the weekend, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Just very briefly, it's somewhat similar in terms of its terms to the FOP agreement. It's a 4% increase. With some adjustments in the first year to make sure that all of their employees make at least $15 an hour, reflective of council's discussion on that issue previously. And then there is a $1,000 bonus in the first year upon approval of this agreement, actually, for employees that worked during the pandemic in the field that did not have an option to work remotely. And that's consistent with the ARPA guidelines. And then finally, in the first year, we would start the Juneteenth holiday as a paid holiday. In 23, it's a 1.5% increase and a $500 bonus for those who have maxed out in their pay matrix at the top. They're at the top step. And then similar terms in 2024. And then there are a number of other more administrative matters that are amended in the contract. Number six is the approval of, first of all, the designation of $10 million in ARPA funding for workforce development and small business development projects. And then we're asking you to approve the criteria that are attached to the council report and referenced briefly in the council report. And also, we're providing you with the application. So asking you to endorse the application as well. Our goal is to get that, if you approve this on Tuesday, then by December 22nd, we'll have it out. We'll have made a notice and sent this out to interested parties. I think it's the beginning of February. It's outlined in the council report and also in the criteria. I think it's beginning of February would be the deadline for the submission of applications. This may not be the first round. We'll see what kind of response we get. It may be that we'll bring projects to you. Council makes a final approval or has final approval of all projects. So we'll do an initial in-house review with some outside parties to help us. But we have to be careful, right? Because it can't be anybody who could be eligible for funding. So we'll be looking for other independent parties.
Will this, if the council approves it, will that also be shared with the chamber and WEBA and all of those groups to know and give out?
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, some of them would actually be applicants, because if you remember, we're not going to be giving funds to actual businesses themselves. It'll be nonprofits and other organizations that will administer programs that will assist businesses or workforce development.
Okay.
Number 7 is approval of an MOU and a settlement agreement regarding outstanding opioid litigation. That's all I have on page 3. Page 4 is your formal consideration of the 3-year agreement with FOP. Under non-consent planning agenda, the number 1 at the bottom, this is the item that was deferred from November 9th regarding parking associated with Happiness Plaza. Parking study has been completed and will be presented to the council on Tuesday. Page 5, non-consent airport agenda number 1. This is a concession and lease agreement with Airport Hotel LLC. This is the group that initially submitted an unsolicited proposal to the council for leasing of land, actually submitted to you as the airport authority, not as the council, right? This is the developer. At that time had some issues that caused us to pause consideration of the project. Those issues have now been addressed to our satisfaction. And it's outlined in the council report, including the fact that all outstanding liens, and that was one of the issues that we had concerns with, have either been satisfied or financial provisions have been made to make sure that they are satisfied. And then also that the developer will construct the new hotel using a licensed general contractor. They'll be required to make a $2 million good faith deposit, also to make a minimum private investment of at least $15 million. They would be leasing about 140,000 square feet of land, and we would get an annual lease that would start at about $73,600. That's it on page 5. I don't have anything on page 6. Page 7. 3A, this is our annual contract with Burns & McDonnell to determine the amount of water that we have withdrawn and recharged into the aqueous beds through ASR, and we're required by state law to provide those numbers on an annual basis. Number 3B is an MOU with the Macpherson County Conservation District for implementation of best management practices to reduce the flow of atrazine into the Little Arkansas River. And atrazine is one of those chemicals that's more difficult for us to treat. And therefore, anything we can do to keep atrazine from finding its way into our water source is beneficial to us. It's been a long-standing program and one that's been very successful. Page 8, number 6 is a grant application for the firefighters, assistance to firefighters grant. This would provide us with washers to clean our turnout gear, and that's done partly to preserve the life of the gear, but probably more importantly, to make sure that carcinogens are washed away from the turnout gear. Number 7 is approval of bids for the Aquatic Master Plan Phase 3. Bids came in higher than anticipated, and so we need a council approval for that. I think they exceeded our original estimates by $435,000. And that's, the good news is that we have sufficient funds in the budget because of favorable bids in the first 2 phases. So we're able to do this, and we'll still be able to make bathhouse improvements that were anticipated to be included in the project as well. Bathhouse improvements will be done by different contractors, and we'll do that after we move forward with this last phase. Number 8 is the relocation, really the second phase of relocation of a sanitary sewer under the canal route. We're asking for approval of $15 million to be added to the project, bring the project total to $18.5 million for this phase. Aging sewer line that needs to be addressed. Number 9 is first reading of an IRB bond ordinance, $33 million for a 168,000 square foot facility on the Innovation Campus Housing Net app, 100% tax exemption, again, a 5+5 program. And then we have a similar action for Web Industrial, except this is a spec warehouse or industrial building, $4.3 million in IRBs for the construction of this spec building. Under the council's spec building program, 95% abatement for the first 5 years, and then they'll be eligible for a 50% abatement if at least 50% of the space has been leased by the time we reach the second 5-year renewal. Otherwise, they would not be eligible. That's it on page 8. Page 9, number 11, additional funding to $19,000 for the, because of increased building material costs for the construction of 3 homes by Mennonite Housing. And then number 12 is simple relocation of a property that was designated for a new house construction by Residential Housing Solutions. They were not able to close on one property in North Ash, so they're going to go to another property they could acquire in North Ash. And then 13 is a software upgrade for our transit information system. And Mayor, that's all I've got.
All right, any questions? Any discussion? There's none, then I guess we're adjourned. We are adjourned.
Thank you.